Hello everyone, this is going to be another video from the Kingdom Hall on the same night. Talks about how do we get from Nebuchadnezzar all the way down to 1914 when Christ began his reign. Well, I'm going to play the audio and we go from there.
Well, those kings are also represented by that tree. So that line of kings is really the larger fulfillment of that. Now, you might remember, the Bible referred to these kings as sitting on Jehovah's throne. That's because God appointed them to rule over his chosen people at the time, the Israelites. Unfortunately, as years went by, most of those kings became disobedient to God. And in turn, their subjects did the same. So eventually, Jehovah saw fit to destroy Jerusalem in 607 BCE. After that point, no more earthly kings figuratively sat on Jehovah's throne. So it's as though God's rulership was interrupted. Now, according to the chart, how long did that interruption last? The chart says 2,520 years. Exactly. So if we calculate 2,520 years from the time Jerusalem was destroyed in 607, that brings us all the way to 1914. And that is when Jesus began ruling in heaven as king of God's kingdom. I know it's a lot to take in, but does that explanation make sense? I think so, but I still have some questions. Where do you think this 2,520 years? How do you know that that's the period of time? And how do you know for sure that this prophecy is about God's kingdom? Is it possible that the kingship would be restored right here on earth in Jerusalem? Those are all excellent questions. And we've taken in a lot of information here. But the best thing for us to do to really get the answer is to look at it in light of the complete Bible. Because that will assure us that this is definitely a heavenly kingdom, and we can find scriptural texts that point to this number, 2,520. So what if the next time I come, we consider those specific scriptures, and also the remainder of this article? And I think you're going to find it answers the rest of your questions. Sure, that sounds good. Is there some way that I could download this electronically? I think I could take a look at this chart sometime. Absolutely. Let me show you how to get on our website. The site is jw.org. When you go to the site, you just go off to publication. And then from there, we can go back. Isn't that nice when demonstrations are handled that way? And aren't you glad you didn't have to practice them? So, we're encouraged now to, with that demonstration in mind, to think about why that brother's efforts in helping the householder come to an appreciation of 1914 was effective. So what did you find effective in that brother's process there? Brother, bend down, please.
He kept it simple.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Sister Gammon?
Also showed him at the start, preparing before he went.
Yes. Nice thought. Brother Beaton, please.
I appreciated how he used that one page and walked through each part very systematically without getting off on a whole bunch of different topics.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sticking to the subject. Okay, let's do that. Nebuchadnezzar had another dream too. The dream of the big statue. But you notice here, when did the Babylon Empire begin? 606. When did they say Jerusalem fell? 607. So that means that was a year earlier than 606. Something's interesting. Let's try something else. A different research. the head of the statue. The Babylonian Empire started in 605, ended 539. What am I getting at? Showing that something is wrong with 607. Well, if you look at this chart and you see Nebuchadnezzar's father, you see the name there, and we go all the way down to the Neo-Babylonian kings. You see his father, when he reigned, 625, he died 605. Nebuchadnezzar, 604, 532. The years between the death of him and his father, when he sat on his father's throne, could be a year off. But a year off is nowhere difference between what Jehovah's Witnesses is teaching. Because they claim that Nebuchadnezzar had been reigned on his father's throne 21 years when he destroyed Jerusalem. Okay, how can you destroy Jerusalem when he sat on his father's throne within 1 year? It can't be done, people. Right here, or maybe it was 19 years. Either way, you can't get 19 or 20 years off 607 to 605. And you see a different chart. Nebuchadnezzar sat on his father's throne, 605. His father died, 605. Jerusalem history chart. It shows you a chart of their history. But I'm going to zoom down on the bottom. (586) Destruction of Jerusalem and of the first temple by Nebuchadnezzar. When? 586. Interesting. So that means 1914, from their date of 2000 and something, would not ended in 1914 because Nebuchadnezzar was not king, nor Jerusalem fell and lost their temple in 607. And here's another timeline of events. Go all the way down to the bottom. And you see 586. 586. Jerusalem walls and gates was burned. 586. 586. The Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem and the first temple. There's nothing. If you go back up to 607, nothing about destroying Jerusalem or the first temple. Oh, did we miss something here? Oh, that's right. Nebuchadnezzar had become king 605. King